So another event, or the third type of event, is a state event. So it is an event that occurs when something happens inside the system that triggers some process. So state events are also called internal events. So for example, if the sale of a product results in an adjustment in the inventory system record, and the inventory in stock drops below our reorder point, it is necessary to reorder. So you can see that, for example, when you're shopping online, that the product has only two, there are two products left, so the inventory needs to update the record, to adjust the record, and then they need to reorder at that point. So the state event might be named reorder point reach. So often state events occur as a consequence of external events. So sometimes they are similar to temporal events, except that the point in time cannot be defined. Because it would, as I've said, it is a consequence of external events. So for example, some users ordered that particular product. A lot of users ordered that product, and then the stock drops below to 3 pieces. So it doesn't have a particular a specific point in time on when this product will drop. So the state event can't be defined.
Defining the events that affect a system is not always easy, but some guidelines can help an analyst think through the process. So it is sometimes difficult to distinguish between an event and a part of a sequence of prior conditions that leads to the event. So, for example, consider this: a customer buying a shirt from a retail store. So, from the customer's perspective, this purchase involves a long sequence of events. So, the first event might be that the customer wants to get dressed. So then the customer wants to wear a striped shirt. Next, the striped shirt appears to be worn out. The customer decides to drive to the mall, and he decides to go into Sears. So Sears is an example of a mall here. So then he tries a striped shirt. So at this point, a customer decides to leave Sears and go to Walmart, so another mall here, to try on a shirt. So finally, the customer wants to purchase the shirt. So the analyst has to think through such a sequence to arrive at a point where the event directly affects the system. So in this case, the system is not affected until the customer is in store, has a shirt in his hand, ready to purchase, and says, I want to buy this shirt. So in other situations, it is not easy to distinguish between an external event and the system's response. So for example, when the customer buys the shirt, the system requests a credit card number, and then the customer gives the credit card. So the question here is that, is the act of supplying the credit card an event? So in this case, no, it is not. It is part of the interaction that occurs while completing the original transaction. So the way to determine whether an occurrence is an event or whether it is part of the interaction, the following the event is by asking if any long pauses or intervals occur. So for example, can the system transaction be completed without interruptions? So, or is the system at rest again? So while waiting for the new transaction. So after the customer wants to buy the shirt, so that is the event, the process continues until the transaction is complete. There is no significant stops after the transaction begins. So after the transaction is complete, the system is at rest. So while waiting for the next transaction to begin. So the EBP here, the EBP concept defined earlier, describes this as leaving the system and its data in a consistent state. So it is often useful to in identifying events to trace the sequence of events that might occur for a specific external event, agent or actor. So this is similar to the user goal technique. So in that it focuses on a single actor, but it focuses on a narrower set of tasks. So for example, what are all the things that a customer might want to do when he or she buys a shirt? So such things as buy the shirt, return the shirt, or uh, change or cancels an order, or he cancels buying the shirt, exchanging the shirt, and so on. So also wants to return the item. So these are examples of those events. So thinking through this type of sequence can help identify events. So remember that events lead to our use cases. So the use case is what we want the system to perform after those events.